Vanaf de Zipconomy-redactie. Welkom bij Zip Talk.
Een hele goede dag en welkom bij Zip Talk, de podcast van Zipconomy. Mijn naam is Narada Bouwland en vandaag word ik bijgestaan door Wim Davidse, hoofdredacteur van Flexnieuws en Haar Morgen. Goeiedag Wim.
Dankjewel. Leuk dat ik hier weer eens een keer bij Zip mag zijn.
Ja, inderdaad. Het is altijd fijn als jij er bent als arbeidsmarkt-expert, cijfer-expert van dienst binnen Zip Media.
Ja.
Dus vandaag als vervanger voor Hugo Jan Ruts. Heel fijn dat je er bent. And then we are going to change the language of this podcast for just a little bit because we have an international guest. All the way from Paris, we have Vincent Huguet, and he's the co-CEO and co-founder of Malt. Welcome, Vincent. Good that you are here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I hope you are doing well. Are you enjoying the Netherlands so far?
I just arrived, but it's sunny, so it's very nice. Yes, it's great.
It's just as you arrived, it got sunny.
It must be you.
It was not great in Paris these last few days. So no, happy to bring the sun.
Great. And you have your organization Malt has just released a report about the freelance market. We're going to discuss that later on in this podcast. But for people that are not aware of Malt, I know Malt as a freelance platform, but I probably undersell it, but in your words, how would you position Malt in the world of VMSs, MSPs, freelance platforms, etc.?
So we're a marketplace. We're a tech company first. We're a marketplace, but first and foremost, there's behind, a community of freelancers. So if you don't have the community, you won't do much. So we have now more than 700,000 freelancers in all Europe. So we started in France 11 years ago, and we launched other markets. We launched after that in Spain, in Germany, then Benelux at the same time, Belgium and Netherlands, the UK. We do a bit of things in the Nordics and also in Dubai and Middle East.
All right.
And so we have this community, and we have, we think, the best matching solution, super easy to use. We think that even big corporates, want a solution where they go there and it's very easy, as easy to find a freelancer as they would find, on Airbnb an apartment.
Yeah.
They get there, they can find the freelancer, and then we manage all the payment, all the contracting through the platform.
Yeah, great. So later on in this podcast, we will discuss more about your positioning in this in the talent strategy of corporations, organizations, and a little bit more about your report. But first of all, Wim of Wim. Als we in het Engels gaan, dan wordt het toch een heel gauw roer bij mij.
Ja.
Maar Wim, we gaan eerst even naar onze headlines.
Ja, zeker.
Zip Talk Headlines.
Nou, Wim, als we jou hier hebben, dan bespreken we altijd cijfers. Welk cijfer tover je vandaag uit de hoge hoed?
Ja, cijfers, heerlijk. Ja, het probleem is met cijfers, er zijn er altijd zoveel van.
Ja.
Maar ik heb er nu 2 uitgehaald van buiten de Zip Media wereld. Die komen van het Centraal Bureau voor de Statistiek. En ik wil graag beginnen met eigenlijk wat mij betreft echt fantastisch cijfer. Dat is namelijk dat ongeveer 75% van de ondernemers in Nederland nu echt zijn best aan het doen is om de arbeidsproductiviteit te verhogen.
Oké.
En ik vind dat een heel mooi cijfer. Zeg maar 3/4 van de ondernemers in Nederland is daar nu mee bezig. Omdat die arbeidsproductiviteit, die ligt al 15 jaar op zijn gat. We hebben een heel hoge arbeidsproductiviteit. Dus dat betekent eigenlijk economie per gewerkt uur. Dat is eigenlijk een hele simpele rekensom. En die ligt in Nederland super hoog ten opzichte van de rest van de wereld. Maar ook al ongeveer 15 jaar stil.
Oké.
Dat is heel ingewikkeld, want nu krijgen we die vergrijzing. We krijgen steeds meer 75-plussers. Die moeten we allemaal verzorgen. En dan zou het helpen als we meer productief zijn.
Ja.
Wat hebben werkgevers, ondernemers bedacht? We gaan meer investeren in digitalisering en automatisering. Dat is eigenlijk de belangrijkste ingreep.
Okay.
En dan denk ik, dat kan niet het hele verhaal zijn. Er zijn allerlei onderzoeken die ook laten zien dat je moet dat doen. Technologische innovatie, superbelangrijk. Maar waarschijnlijk is dat 1/4 van de oplossing. 3/4 van je oplossing is investeer in organisatorische innovatie.
Ja, okay.
Hoe richt ik mijn organisatie in? Hoe richt ik mijn processen in? Maar ook hoe richt ik mijn management in? Hoe gaat mijn management om met mijn personeelbestand?
Ja.
Dus 3/4 van de werkgevers of van de ondernemers in Nederland echt zegt, ik ga er nu werk van maken.
Ja.
En ik ben toch bang dat een heel groot deel daarvan nog niet met de goede dingen bezig is. We moeten er meer mensenwerk van maken.
Ja, en ik weet niet of het nou toeval is, maar iedere keer als ik met jou sta, dan hebben we dus iets over mannen versus vrouwen. Hè? We hebben het een keer gehad over de tarieven volgens mij van vrouwelijke freelancers.
Ja.
En wat kun je daar nu over vertellen?
Nou ja, dit is echt goed nieuws, want het CBS heeft deze week gepubliceerd dat inmiddels 70% van alle vrouwen economisch zelfstandig is.
Oké.
En dat klinkt als, waarom is dat geen 100%? Maar het CBS zegt daar ook bij, 45 jaar geleden, dat is echt niet zo heel lang geleden, was maar 20% van de vrouwen economisch zelfstandig.
Ja.
Dus een echtscheiding of zo bracht jou aan de bedelstaf als je vrouw was. Die kans is nu veel kleiner.
Is dat het criterium? Dus mocht mijn relatie stuk gaan, kan ik mezelf dan bedruipen? Is dat,
Dat is eigenlijk heel kort door de bocht, zwart-wit geformuleerd, is dat het.
Ja.
Ben jij economisch zelfstandig? Kun je betalen wat er op je afkomt als je voor jezelf moet zorgen?
Ja, oké.
En dan is 70% eigenlijk toch nog best wel weinig.
Mm-hmm.
Maar het is in ieder geval 50 procentpunten meer dan 45 jaar geleden. En dat vind ik echt wel mooi nieuws.
Ja, dat is goed nieuws. Maar nog ook wel een stukje nog te gaan. Want dat moet natuurlijk 100 zijn.
Zonder perspectief is het niet leuk leven. Dus het kan beter en dat gaan we ook doen.
En mannen die staan al op 100? Of,
dat zegt het onderzoek niet.
Ja.
Maar ik ga ervan uit dat dat toch zeker wel 80-90% is. En dat geldt niet voor alle mannen. Niet alle mannen kunnen zichzelf bedruipen.
Ja.
Maar dat zijn er in ieder geval meer. We komen natuurlijk uit een kostwinnerssamenleving.
Ja, precies.
En ja, dan kon de man voor zichzelf zorgen. Althans de werkende man en de gepensioneerde man, die konden dat.
Ja, oké, duidelijk. En dan valt er ook nog iets te zeggen over de freelance vrouwen.
Ja. En nu wordt het echt oppassen voor de gemiddelde man. Want Intelligence Group en het First Group hebben in hun talent monitor vastgesteld dat die vrouwelijke professionals 68% succesvoller zijn in het binnenhalen van nieuwe projecten.
Oké.
68%.
Ja.
Dus die zijn, laten we het even een dik aanzetten, 2 keer zo succesvol bijna.
Ja, interessant.
Ja.
En dan zijn ze succesvoller of zijn ze kritischer bij het kiezen waar ze voor gaan? Zijn mannen wat opportunistischer?
Ja, maar als dat zo zou zijn, zou je denken, dan halen ze ook makkelijker meer projecten binnen. Maar dat is dus niet zo. Die vrouw is daar beter in.
Ja.
Hè? Bijna 70% succesvoller in het binnenhalen van een nieuw project.
Oké.
Ik moet je eerlijk zeggen dat ik niet de achterkant van waarom ken.
Ja.
Dat zou ik echt heel graag willen weten, want dan kunnen wij mannen waarschijnlijk toch verschrikkelijk veel van leren.
Wat van leren, ja. Oké.
En nou is er iets wat recruitment hier wel van kan leren, want dat hebben ze ook in die talent monitor vastgesteld. Die gebruiken dat niet. Recruiters stappen toch eerder op een mannelijke kandidaat af dan op een vrouwelijke kandidaat.
Ja.
Dat komt natuurlijk ook uit ons verleden, dat mannen werkten en vrouwen veel minder. Zet een ander petje op.
Ja. Oké. Dus knoop dat in je oren.
Dit zijn goede ontwikkelingen volgens mij.
Ja. Ja, en precies de omgekeerde volgorde als normaal gesproken dus. Moment Hugo Jan, dan als er iets over VEPA te zeggen valt, doen we dat meteen. Ja. Maar nu op het eind, wat valt er over te vertellen? Dus de handhaving zelfstandige arbeid.
Ja, er is nu natuurlijk van alles aan de hand. Wie wordt onze nieuwe premier? Hoe gaat onze nieuwe regering eruit zien? Wat gaat er met die VEPA gebeuren? We hebben een blog op zipconomy.nl van Joop der Weduwen. En die zegt: heel veel onzekerheid, maar beste inlener, beste inhuurder, bereid je toch gewoon goed voor. Want die 1 januari 2025, die staat al een poosje. Misschien gaan we het niet helemaal halen.
Ja.
Omdat het in een politiek rare, dynamische context allemaal speelt. Maar de Belastingdienst heeft zich dit voorgenomen. Misschien halen we 1 januari niet. Misschien gaan ze zich eerst focussen op bepaalde sectoren en bedrijfstakken die ze nog niet hebben genoemd.
Ja.
Dus er is nog superveel onzeker. Maar, en dat ben ik helemaal met Joop eens, bereid je voor, want vroeger of later gaat de Belastingdienst aan je deur kloppen. En als je het dan niet op orde hebt, dan heb je gewoon een lastig verhaal.
Ja, en onze luisteraars, het mag hopelijk duidelijk zijn dat er iets moet gaan gebeuren. Mocht je nog niet zo ver zijn. En het risico is natuurlijk niet super groot.
Ja. Maar we hebben het er nu zo lang over. En het is nog lang niet 1 januari 2025. En misschien verschuift het allemaal nog een beetje. En zit je in een sector die niet primair bekeken gaat worden door de Belastingdienst. Maar doe het.
Ja, een gewaarschuwd mens telt voor 2.
En een gewaarschuwd ondernemer toch zeker.
Nou, dankjewel. En tot zover onze headlines. En dan gaan wij verder met onze gast, Vincent van Malt. Vincent, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself before we go more in depth about the business?
Sure. So I'm a French guy, but I started my career in Mexico. I worked there for about 7 years. I worked in the telecom industry. I came back then to Europe, to Paris. I was a founder in other businesses, online printing, another was online media. And that's where I realized, that we had some activity peaks, we needed some extra developers, designer. And I found that there was no easy way to find these highly skilled freelancers that I could work with. And I met my co-founders, Jean-Baptiste and Hugo, and they were themselves freelancers. They were great developers. They were finding jobs, but they thought, that there was no great way to connect direct with the clients, choose the clients, etc. And so we started, like that in 2013. So that's who I am. I am a father of 3 children. I am based in Paris. I used to live for a few years in Munich when we launched the German market, which was very important for us. And we did an acquisition there, a company maybe that you know, which was called Comatch,
All right.
which we rebranded now as Malt Strategy.
All right. Sounds good. And Wim, do you want to start? Shall we discuss the report or?
First, a bit more about Malt, because Malt,
Yeah.
you called it a tech company.
Yeah.
But you are focused on freelancers.
Yes. Yeah, but what we saw since the beginning is that, this market is a very traditional market with a lot of staffing agency, hiring agency, whatever you call it, or consulting companies that do a lot of things very manually, which makes it costly, sometimes opaque, and very inefficient also in terms of cost. And we thought also that the world was going to change, in people in general wanting to do their own choices. So I mentioned it, with the freelancer choosing their clients or choosing their project directly, but also the end user. I'm just out of a meeting here in Amsterdam with L'Oréal. What people like with a company like and with our solution is that you have all these hundreds of users. For instance, in L'Oréal, whenever they need, for instance, a designer, a copywriter, a developer, they go to the platform and they directly interact with the freelancer. So what we thought what was going to change, and is still changing, is the fact that even in big corporates, people want to have solutions that are as easy to use and in their daily life. I mentioned, I think, Airbnb. You want to have the same experience when you want to go to Paris, for instance, for the Olympics. Let's say you're invited, by the way. You want to choose yourself. The apartment you're going to stay with. You don't just want to post that on a place and post and pray and wait for people to tell you, oh, I could rent you my apartment. So we think, the staffing industry was a bit like that, very inefficient in terms of user experience. Okay. So we made a platform super easy to use, and the community, then came in because they saw that they could have, this direct approach with their client that they liked since the beginning.
Yeah. So you started out with a tech proposition.
Yeah, exactly. My 2 co-founders, as I mentioned, they're developers. Myself, I have a background where I've always been, in type of at the time we were not calling it that way, but product management role, etc. And I've always been passionate by UX and how UX can change business models, etc. So yes, we thought that, now we're a tech company. We have about 150 tech people, including, people in data science, etc. Because we have these 700,000 freelancers. And when you're looking for a freelancer, you want to have, a matching tool which is super efficient, and it's very complex. And by the way, Gen AI now is accelerating this process, because basically when you go to ChatGPT, what you do is, compared to before the world of Google, you're doing a very complex search, a very complex prompt. And that's something that's going to be more and more possible, Yeah. So, but already, if you want to look for, I don't know, a data engineer for 6 months that lives in Amsterdam or that works in Amsterdam, that's going to be available 4 days a week, etc. That's the type of search you can do on Malt in a very direct way, and then you have these direct answers from freelancers.
Yeah. So you are focused, or you started focusing on UX, user experience. You started focusing on ease of use.
Yes.
And now
Yes, we started like that, but the paradox is that if you want to do a very simple thing for the end user, it's very complex behind in terms of technology. Yeah. So we had to have right from the beginning very good developers, and we started being what is called a search marketplace. I mentioned Airbnb, but there are tons of like that, like Booking.com, etc. So a search marketplace is in the end the best UX you can give to an end user to make their own choices, to compare, to connect directly, etc. So we started like that, and we had at the beginning, in the first few years, we had a lot of early adopters, so basically startups, small companies that came to Malt, and then we started seeing corporates coming in. At the beginning, maybe not the HR department or the procurement department, but some more the innovation department. So some part of the companies that were more agile in their choice.
IT departments.
Exactly, and we saw them coming, and we had to, in a way, adapt. It was not a pivot, but we had to adapt to these clients in our way of selling. So we have now a very large sales force.
Business to business is another type of business than business to candidate.
Exactly, and you have to provide them the services that they need, meaning that you need to have a sales force and account managers. You need to have payment solutions, that is, managing, payment on invoice. You need to probably connect to their SSO. You need to connect with Punch-Out, with solutions like whatever they have, Coupa, SAP Ariba, Evalua, etc. So we do all these things. Yeah. You give them also tools for their analytics. What is good for them when they work with Malt is that they have, so we have something called Malt Insights. They have with Malt Insights, a full report on what department is spending what with what type of freelancers. So they feel more at ease that, to spread out the use of the platform inside the company, because they can control or monitor at least what's happening. So we do all these things for them. We do the contracting also. We do the compliance. So we are... on top of this search marketplace, we built what we could name what is a freelancer management system that they have, organically when they work with Malt.
Yeah. Okay. So back to the freelancer, because freelancers are human beings, psychological beings, not just focusing on UX and ease of use, but also on other things. The content of work, the culture of the client, etc., etc. So let's focus on this freelancer. Who do you define as freelancer? Who is your freelance target group?
That's a good question. And by the way, we were talking about it. The name freelancers is not that easy. If you, for instance, in France, it's quite well understood that freelancers, so our definition, it's basically here, I think we will say independent contractor, but there are white collars first. There are more people in consulting jobs in some ways.
That's your target group.
Exactly, consulting in IT, consulting in design, project management, etc. And they are, out of the population of all the independents, they are the ones who are non-regulated jobs, like lawyers, like accountants, etc. They are not the platform workers. What I mean by platform worker is more the gig economy. Yeah. So the Uber, the Deliveroo of the world, etc. Where, it's a very different, well, mostly it's blue collar, but also it's a very different relationship to the platform, because the platform defines the price, defines what you're going to do. Okay, you're going to take this person from point A to point B. Okay, so it's a very different way of working, and it's mostly people working for companies. 100% of the time working their clients.
Working for
companies. Professional services, and there are people who are. Some of them come out directly from they were employed, before in whatever job, but a lot of them also comes from consulting companies. When I say consulting, maybe they were working for IT consulting company, and why they choose freelancing is because they can choose their project, they can choose their client. When you work for an IT consulting company, they tell you, okay, tomorrow you go on that project. You're going to work on a project based on Java, for instance, if you're a developer, and you're an expert in C++, So you're a bit, frustrated sometimes that this happened. So that's why that's a first reason to become freelancers. A second reason is earning more money. because there's less middleman, and so they earn more money, and they can choose also their way of working. We're talking about how in Netherlands, it's there are a lot of part-time workers. We have a lot of freelancers who prefer to work, let's say, 4 days a week, and then the other day of the week they have a personal project, or they are even launching their startup, but in between they have to finance it by being freelancers, or they are trainers. They train other people, professional trainer in their field. So we have all kind of reason to become freelancer. What comes out of the report, and that is, I think, very consistent.
So you're talking about the report. Let's introduce this report, because you have done research and written a report with the title Freelancing in Europe 2024. And it's not your first report, it's your third, I think.
Yeah, the third in Europe, but then we've been doing it in France for now, I think, 7 years.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So what was the goal of Malt to write this report? Because you're a tech company, and you are great in UX, and you are great in ease of use, and you are learning how to be valuable B2B.
Yeah. I think as we are growing, it was very important for us to, we've been always talking with freelancer in a very special way. So you're right so we are a tech company, but at the same time we do, as we say, we do things that don't scale. That's a mantra that comes from Airbnb, by the way, meaning that we do every year, we have a community team, and we do hundreds of events with freelancers. Small or big. Sometimes it can be a webinar with 500 freelancers. Sometimes it's just a drink in a bar somewhere with 20 freelancers. So we have this special contact. We cannot talk with all the 700,000 freelancers, but we think that it's important to have this special contact with all of them. And we realized that after, why are they on Malt? First, to find new clients. Second, to have a payment secure and fast. And the third one is this sense of belonging to a community. So belonging can be on the events, but also they want to know how other freelancers are, why they choose freelancing, how much they're charging, and things like that. And so that's why we've been doing this report in the first place. The second reason is that for companies, but also for politicians, we need to inform them. I mean, you do that very well here, like probably the only country that I know, Europe, where there's a media dedicated to the independent economy. But in most other places, people don't know that much about it. Yeah. So you have to inform the media, the politicians of who are these freelancers, that yes, there are hundreds of thousands or millions in Europe, that it's not, precarious. It's people who chose to become freelancers.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's why also we are doing this report.
By the way, do you know how many independent contractors, freelancers there are all over Europe?
We consider 6 million.
Yeah.
So in our category that I define, we consider 6 million.
Yeah. And outside of your category, all in total, I had to look up the numbers.
There are 30 million independent workers in Europe. 30 million, so 30.
Loads of them.
But 6 million we consider are the ones that I defined earlier.
So, and in the Netherlands? Because
so in the Netherlands,
when did you enter the Dutch market? 2 years ago?
Yeah, 2 years ago. In the Netherlands, but you are the experts here, we understand that there's 1.5, 1.6 independent workers.
Depends on the definition.
Yeah, depending. Yeah. But then if you get to the ones who are really like the category that I mentioned, we think it's something around 400,000.
Yeah. And how far are you after 2 years?
So we are, I would say only for now at 15,000, but we see our growth. What we are checking also is the growth, every month. And we 2 years ago, maybe there were, I don't know, tens of people like registering Now it's hundreds registering every month. We have, by the way, 20K already in Belgium. Okay. So it's growing quite fast. Yeah.
You're growing fast. Okay.
Yeah. And is it for an organization in the Netherlands, can I utilize that entire database of freelancers across Europe? If I, for example, have an odd job right here, which could be done by any English-speaking person?
That's an important precision and good question, is that our model since the beginning, because there were, when we started, global platforms. And we thought that the world was, yes, global, but maybe more glocal, global and local. What I mean by that is that I think a company here in Amsterdam will still work mostly with people who are here.
Yeah.
Because if you consider highly skilled freelancers, and not, in some other platform, you get freelancer for a task, €100 to do you a logo. So that person can be anywhere in the world. In our positioning, we have highly skilled freelancers charging usually between 500 to €1,000 a day. There are people who work with a team, okay?
Yeah.
So they can perfectly work remotely a lot of the time, but it's very important that they connect with the rest of the team. So what we see, and particularly with enterprise clients, is that they meet at some point with the freelancers. They work locally with the freelancers. So they tend to prefer to work with people who are close to them. Now, having said that, the good thing about now for us entering a market, let's say I'm looking for an expert AWS or whatever for L'Oréal that I just mentioned. If there is not this expert in Amsterdam and the expert is in Brussels or in Paris or in Munich, it's fine, They can take a train or they can do everything remotely. So now it's more open to this.
Yeah, all right.
Is this community thing, is this the core of your value proposition?
Yes. Yes. By the way, our official name is Malt Community.
Okay.
And I think that I know we are the only player in the field, in general, that has a community team which is not... they don't have a quota. They don't have revenue that is expecting from them. Mm-hmm. They just have to. We say usually internally they are here to give love to freelancers, meaning to connect with them, and to make them ambassadors. By the way, what we did now 1 year ago is that we have an advisory board of 17 freelancers in all Europe, different fields, who every 6 months, more or less, we connect with them. Next time they meet, I think it's next week or in 2 weeks in Paris. They come from all over Europe. We meet with them and they give us feedback. We show them our strategy, we show them our product improvements, and they give feedback to us.
Okay. And do you also focus on education, on...
Yes and no. I mean,
higher psychological needs?
Yeah, that's a good question. Again, the first thing is bringing new clients. Second thing is payments. Third thing is sense of belonging. Mm-hmm. But when we do these community events, online or offline, we do that sometimes with partners. So we think, for instance, we've always had, partners with banks, insurance, things like that. We don't make any money out of it. We negotiate a better price for them.
Okay.
And we think our role on that is more to inform them, saying, okay, if you are freelancers, you want to be free in your choices, but maybe you will consider to have an insurance for that or that topic because you need to prepare for, retirement or things like that. So we inform them as much as possible, and we bring some partners.
Yeah, okay. That's quite a rich value proposition towards those freelance workers. I have another question about, let's say, the client side. So you already mentioned the big corporate organization that you service, but most of the time from that corporate perspective, they have an MSP in place. They have preferred suppliers in place. They have maybe, they have their own freelance pool, which is also utilized for their talent needs. So where do you position yourself within that? Do you replace the MSP, replace the VMS, replace the freelance pool they already have? How would you pitch it to me?
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
First of all, so in terms of number of clients and type of clients, we work with a lot of SMBs, as I mentioned, because that's where we come from. We work with 70,000 SMB clients. Mm-hmm. But a large part of our revenue is coming from the enterprise world.
Okay.
And what is interesting is that, so we start in France, in Spain, in Germany. The market is not so structured as it is here. Yeah. It's a very mature market. And we arrived here and in Belgium also, we saw that, yes, this presence of VMS and MSP was bigger. Okay. My personal view on this is that the market is going to evolve, Why? Because I think MSP and VMS were corresponding to a way of working where you had vendors with salespeople who would connect to this platform and who will pitch, the people they have to provide.
Yeah.
But the world is going to that, direct contact again between the end user of the freelancer and the freelancer itself. It's much more efficient in choosing, less more costly, etc. Because yes, we see that, we've seen that in the travel agency world. Like people were having first a travel agency inside the company, and now they're telling them, okay, we have a special partnership with Booking. You go directly on Booking because you want to choose directly. If you go to Madrid, you know in which area of Madrid you want to be, etc. So we see ourselves as complementary, meaning that MSP and VMS are necessary and necessary to manage a large number of vendors that you have. But on the side, when you work with freelancers, a marketplace like Malt brings you the possibility to connect with all type of freelancers. So we already put in competition in some ways. We give you the choice between all these freelancers.
Yeah.
And our technology and our large community allows us to, almost be at 100% of the time finding a freelancer for these people. So they can bet on this, and then it doesn't prevent us from connecting to, for instance, in the back, because we understand perfectly that they need the data to be put in their VMS, for instance, or in their procurement tool, like I mentioned, Coupa, Evalua, Ariba, etc. So we connect in Punch-Out, for instance, with these tools.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So we think that the world is going to a more direct approach.
Yeah.
Much more efficient for the freelancers, for the employees, for the companies, but connecting to the tools that are already in place for the procurement or for the HR departments.
Yeah. All right. Interesting. Okay. So I'm trying to plot that in the rich landscape that we have here in the Netherlands in terms of technology and service providers. So if I would have to summarize it in my own words, then you focus primarily on the technology side and the value proposition towards the freelancer, and you have also quite some services or ways of working with the sitting MSP or whatever service organizations that are contracted by the corporate organization. You can work with that and you can fit in that landscape.
MSP is not that easy. It's not that easy because I think MSP is not ideal for freelancers. I think it works better for smaller, IT or consulting companies in general, for long tail of vendors. VMS is more something where, VMS are prepared to have direct sourcing.
Mm-hmm.
So and by the way, it was happened, already, in the real world, the most of the clients we're talking to, if you talk to HR procurement, they know just a part of what, is bought by all the departments. Most people do their own choices on their way. So the good thing that we provide is something where HR, finance, or procurement can control, because the tool is so easy to use. They go to Malt, they contract with Malt. Malt is connected, so they get the purchase order automatically connected, etc. Yeah. And then it brings back the information to the VMS when it's needed.
Yeah.
So we can sit on the side of the VMS or MSP, or we can connect, once the relationship is done.
Yeah.
But I think the market, yes, definitely will be moving towards this. We talked about user experience, towards what is the best user experience for the freelancer and the client.
Yeah.
And client, in the end, if you provide them a solution where it's cheaper, it's faster, they find directly the freelancer, but then they still have the control or the monitoring in their own tools, then you have a perfect world.
Yeah. So it's probably most interesting for organizations that are currently on a growth curve. Maybe from getting slowly going to that corporate volume of freelancers. You want to start managing things just a little bit better.
Yeah, we're working a lot
freelancers.
With much bigger companies, here, for instance, Nike, Kraft, Coty. Maybe it's paradoxically, it's easier to get in a much bigger company that has a European footprint.
Yeah.
Because their solution that they have now, maybe MSP, they are very local.
Yeah.
And so we can provide a solution with this European footprint.
Yeah.
And so it's much more interesting for them. But I think, again, now people are understanding, back a few years back in France, we were in the same RFP as consulting companies.
Yeah.
And now procurement department have understood that they have to separate in their RFP on the side consulting companies, and on the other side freelancers.
Yeah.
And choose for instance, we just signed an agreement, a global agreement with Schneider Electric. We are the unique provider for them. We connect with Coupa with their solution, and it's super efficient for both of us, and we can deploy now in all countries. And by the way, the way we like more to work is when we work not only with procurement but also with HR.
Yeah.
Usually HR is out of the game. Well, they know about the freelancers, but they don't, they are not responsible about the topic.
Yeah.
That's what we see in most countries. But when they work hand to hand with a procurement, it makes more sense. We can take better decisions.
Yeah. So those are organizations that, from an HR and from a, let's say, procurement perspective for freelancers, are quite mature, because I think that it would be a good idea to talk to Malt if you are on a level that you understand that employee experience also is important for your freelancers, which makes it freelance experience or a total workforce experience.
Totally. I remember having talked a few years back with the CHRO of AXA insurance company, and she was telling me, I don't know how many freelancers I have, or external workers in general.
Yeah.
People from Accenture, McKinsey, or freelancers, whatever. I don't know if but probably it's 5%.
Yeah.
One day it's going to be 20%. And I need to know who they are. And they cannot have, maybe sometimes they will work 1 year with us. So they need to have, the onboarding. They need to have a bit of information about the history of the company, the vision, the mission, etc. So it's important that HR is involved.
Yeah. All right. We just passed the half-hour mark, Wim. So I want to check with you if you want to go somewhere within this conversation.
In your report, you also uncovered some stumbling blocks on the B2B side of your solution.
What do you mean stumbling?
Stumbling blocks. So, issues that new clients could have with your solution because of technical issues or the combination with other solutions like VMSs.
It's part of the report, but it's the conversation in general with clients, where we have all type of clients. We have clients that start, fresh, I would say, on the topic. We have clients that are already very equipped, and there are clients who are equipped but understand that they have to work differently and connect with us. So they are the ones who are, for instance, if I talk about punch-out, solution with the procurement tools, we've been talking about that with our clients for 5 years. And in the last 2 years, we have seen it grow every week. Now we have integrations, or even many by week. And we do that in a matter of days. And because the more we become strategic for them and the more they understand how freelancing is strategic, maybe what is changing also is that I was mentioning procurement and HR, but we have the conversation sometimes at the boardroom, because talent, we are in a war of talent. Talent is everything for a CEO now, and particularly talents in the digital world. So it's the most important topic for them.
Yeah.
So as I was mentioning L'Oréal, as the CHRO, global CHRO of L'Oréal mentioned to us one day, I am responsible here for bringing talents wherever they come from, whatever their status. Yeah. So that's a very C-level, discussion, and that's what makes it interesting.
And you coming from a tech point of view, from a tech past, you can help them unclose these stumbling blocks because you know how to deal with these technical issues.
Yeah, exactly. For us, once the client is ready for it, the integration is super easy. And yes, I think in general, as I said, software is eating the world. And I think now even with AI, this thing is increasing, and everyone is talking about how to be more digital. That we talked for the last 10 years about digital transformation. Now everyone's talking about AI. In the enterprise world. So I would say, if you are going to look talents the old way, with the old recipes, you're not going to change, So that's where, so we have these very interesting conversations to be more efficient in the ways of working.
So one last question.
Yeah.
What is your mission towards 2030? Because
Yeah.
There's a lot of change and even more will change. What is your mission within all these changes?
Yeah. Well, now we have these European footprints. We have 11 offices in Europe. The question will be in the next 2-3 years whether we go to North America, which is even a bigger market, but also because some of our clients are already there and ask us to go there. In terms of figures, we are close to we're going to be ending this year close to 1 billion, which is the business volume, which is what we gave ourselves as a target 5 years ago. So now we are defining the target for the next 5 years. Probably it will be
successful.
I hope we will be. It will be good for freelancers. But we will stick to the same mission, which is providing choice. I think choice is the key word for us, is for the freelancer being able to choose between sometimes they work with startups, sometimes we work with clients, and they know directly who they're going to work with on what project. But on the other side is the same, these end users, they want to go directly, not going through a complex workflow, inside the companies or with intermediaries. They want to go directly. So we're going to have a world of work, I think, that is more exciting in that sense, that people can make their own choices, and that's our mission.
That's a beautiful mission. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that will be our closing remark for today. So, Vincent, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I wish you a whole lot of luck with your enterprise the coming years. En Wim, ook dankjewel dat jij er was.
Heel graag gedaan.
Meer over nieuws wat we vandaag besproken hebben vind je op zipconomy.nl. Daar kun je je ook abonneren op onze nieuwsbrief. Volg verder Zipconomy op LinkedIn om op de hoogte te blijven van het laatste nieuws. En vergeet je niet te abonneren op deze podcast bij Spotify of Apple Podcast. Bedankt voor het luisteren en graag tot de volgende keer.